A Rhode Island teacher went viral for busting out a fan for his photo op in the Oval Office because he wanted to, quote, be visibly queer to celebrate who he was. He said the new guy had no issue with it either. So if he doesn't care, why hasn't he even acknowledged that it is Pride Month yet?
Because he doesn't care.
Period. He doesn't care one way or the other, but his policy cares, and his policy is anti-gay.
Because he's apathetic, I think the people around him influence him more. And like Mike Pence, for example, is someone that scares me with his policies on LGBTQ. And I think because Donald Trump doesn't worry about this, he just doesn't care. He's being influenced by everyone around him and not helping.
But to be fair, before he was president, he did speak out against the bathroom bill and said that Caitlyn Jenner could use whatever bathroom she wanted to use at Trump Tower.
Yeah, so he only meant her, though. He didn't mean everybody else.
I mean,
we all
that's
thought
what
he
I
meant
mean
everybody.
I think he doesn't care as a human being. I don't think he cares.
I actually think it's beyond. I think he personally is supportive of LGBTQ rights. I think he's now a politician, though, and he's thinking about re-election, and he's thinking about his base, and he's not thinking in his head that he's thinking, well, I support this. Yeah, keep your fan. It's awesome. But he's not thinking that people are looking and saying, this is hypocritical, because if you're going to be supportive through your policy.
But he has to appeal to his base. That's all he cares about. He's got this group of people, 35% of the Republican Party, who adore him, who no matter what he does, they love him. That's who he's talking to. He doesn't care about everybody else.
Are those people really not in favor of just basic human rights for people in the LGBTQ community?
No, I think a lot of times people are also afraid. You know, this is brand new for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, this is really something that people were not prepared for, and they were just wrapping their heads around gay marriage. And now we're talking about what happens in other folks. And people are like, wait, I'm just getting used to this. Hold on. And I think sometimes fear makes people act foolishly because one-on-one, people meet people and they don't have an issue.
Right, but that's the point. I doubt that they've actually met a transgender in the middle of this country like that. Very rarely, I'm sure.
Or don't realize that they have.
I think also, though, politicians take a little bit of time. Sometimes, like, I firmly believe that President Obama was for LGBTQ rights before he came out and supported same-sex marriage, before he came out as an advocate. And I think a lot of it happens behind the scenes where he has to have those conversations. I would give him time, I think, on this issue. I have a feeling that he will evolve. Politicians use that word all the time and be more of an advocate.
Politics and the reality of getting elected. And people have to see through that, though.
He has to lead in this area. I mean, in June 2015, after the Pulse shooting, he did come out and condemn that shooting. And I'd like to see more from this president because we're talking about basic human rights.
He seems to be dealing with things that hit closer to home for him. We're not seeing him come out proactively on much unless it affects him. So, you know, being that I don't see anyone in his inner circle that is gay or, you know, I don't think it's something that's on the top of his...
That we know of.
Well, that he knows of. But I just don't think it hits close enough to home for him to care and lead.
When you're the guy in that chair, you're supposed to be the guy in that chair for everybody.
Everyone.
And if you're not, and regardless of whether you believe in it or not, you know, because I'm sure a lot of presidents have faced issues. You know, Lincoln didn't want to free the slaves. But he didn't have a choice.
Those were leaders, though. Those were leaders.
Well, yes, and so
pioneers of different things. This is not someone that's shown us
that. When Jen says she's got some faith in him, I'm not going to rain in her parade. I'm going to say, okay, maybe, you know, and you'll know I'm a natural blonde if it happens. Yeah. If he comes out and he's right.
It's also hard, though, because he has to balance all of those religious freedom-like rights and try to figure out how to balance. Just because he's supportive, remember, of LGBTQ rights doesn't mean he's necessarily going to be able to effectuate that in policy.
So, but here's the thing about religious folks. Religious folks always say, what would Jesus do? I think...
Not that nun I ran into.
No. I don't know why you just said that, because the nun dislikes him. She doesn't dislike Jesus. But I'm saying that, you know, if you say, I'm for people's freedom...
I agree with you.
Then you have to accept that even though you may be a Jewish leader, you may be a Muslim leader, you may be a Catholic leader, you are leading a country that has everything. And so you have to look out for the people. And the people are the same ones that put you in and out. So they can't hide behind religion. Because
I agree 100%.
Because Jesus says, you know, listen, see my people, see my friends. What about
and just one thing, I mean, I read recently that a bunch of people that were on his AIDS council withdrew his HIV because they said he didn't care.
He didn't do
That's my point,
So
people. He doesn't care.
That's right.